Good morning, everyone. This is Sunday morning, the 18th of, the 10th. I'm sorry, the 10th of October. This is Fellowship of Spirits Zoom meeting, and we welcome you here today. And this is in Farmington, New Mexico. And but I think most of our people are just our people who have been here many, many times. So I don't see any newcomers, which is disappointing. We love to have newcomers all the time, but we're not getting that many. So today is going to be a dynamic day. We're going to have a presentation. Our main talk will be by Susan Barnes-Smith from Belize. Steve Barker will do our spiritual reading, and Susan will be doing our music also by video. And we hope we have the procedure down so that we can show that to you seamlessly, hopefully. Okay, so does someone would like to volunteer to offer us a opening prayer?
I will.
Okay, Jenny.
Father, Mother God, thank you for the life that we lead. Thank you for being with us, in us, and as us, and guiding how we live our lives. And thank you, I think, for the changing of the season, which is going to hit us hard on Tuesday. So may we accept that with grace and see the beauty that remains around us. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much. For announcements, and we'll make more announcements at the end of the meeting, but today we will have a board meeting after the regular meeting. Toward the end, when we get to that portion, I would like everyone to be ready with an opinion about whether or not we should resume our face-to-face meetings in the sanctuary. That's going to be our major topic today, among a few other things that we need to discuss. But one of the things we're going to talk about is whether or not it's time to go back to face-to-face meeting, our hybrid meeting. We do not intend to dispense with our Zoom meetings. We plan to continue to do them indefinitely, I think. So there we go. At this point, Susan, we normally would have a song. Is this when you're ready to play a song or no?
Yes.
Okay, well, let me see if I can get you back on there.
There we go.
There we go. Aha!
Many nights we've prayed with no proof anyone could hear. In our hearts a hopeful song we barely understood. Now we are not afraid, although we know there's much to fear. We were moving mountains long before we knew we could. There can be miracles when you believe. The hope is rare, it's hard to do. Who knows what miracles you can achieve? when you leave me, somehow you will. You will when you leave me. This time of fear, when prayer so often proved in vain, hope seemed like a summer bird too swiftly flown away. Yet now I'm standing here with heart so full I can't explain. Speaking faith and speaking words I never thought I'd say. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is rare, it's hard to do. Who knows what miracles you can achieve? When you believe, somehow you will. When you achieve.
Thank you, Susan. That was beautiful. It came through a little jerky on my machine. I don't know, how did it come through on other people? Were you able to hear it with full resonance and volume? No.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to work on that. I don't know if it has to do with the speed of your internet or what's going on there, but it was almost in good speed and time, but not quite on my end.
Well, we'll just have to.
You can tell it was much more beautiful. It was much more beautiful than the presentation on my, that I could hear. I could see that it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I love the words
The
that
words
came
were
with
great.
it.
Yes, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, very lovely bunch of young people.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
All right. So now we have Steve with our spiritual reading.
Okay. I woke up kind of listless today and I've been kind of on cruise listening to the book reading and everything. But I'm really glad that I have you all to kind of kick my butt in gear and get me going again. And today's reading is going to be from Ernest Holmes, and it's actually today's daily reflection from Science of Mind, and it seems to be that to say the same message that I've been hearing from you all. So I'm going to go ahead and read it directly. Starts with a quote from Albert Schweitzer. It says, "To affirm is to deepen, to make more inward, to exalt the will to live." Spiritual communion is relaxing. There is neither stress nor strain in it. Here are dropped from consciousness. Today, everything is filled with peace and joy. Jesus said, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light." The Spirit has no burden, creates none, and enters into none. As Emerson said, it is the finite alone that has wrought and suffered. The infinite lies stretched in smiling repose. Over-anxiety is one of the most negative states of mind we can experience. It is a complete denial of the divine beneficence, a feeling that the entire burden of life rests on our shoulders. Spiritual communion relieves this tension, automatically straightens out the consciousness. Through recognition, acknowledgement, and receptivity, it readjusts the psychic streams of life. It frees the pent-up emotions and causes them to become sublimated or transformed into the energy of light, of power, and of self-expression. Jesus tells us to take no anxious thought for the morrow. All of our tomorrows are still unborn. Every day should view a new creation and world more blessed than yesterday. Anxiousness and anxiety arise from a sense of uncertainty of the future, not from frustrations of the past. We are to take no anxious thought for tomorrow. This does not mean we care to act in an irresponsible or chaotic manner. It merely means we are to live this day in calm confidence of the future. All of our memories of the past will be healed, and all of the pent-up energies of unexpressed desires will flow out from us in joyful expression if our communion with nature and the Spirit becomes complete. That's from Pray and Prosper, which was published posthumously in 1974. The affirmation is, "I am guided, and my guidance is multiplied by you all." Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That was good and timely. We really appreciate your words. Thank you so much. Well, it is time for our main speaker to come forth. Susan Barnes, along with her then husband, Randy, started Fellowship of Spirit. It's been a long time ago. It was in the early 90s. I'm not sure the exact date, but it was a long time ago. They moved down here from Durango, and they had a church up there. They were unity ministers, and they had a metaphysical practice, and they had lots of experience before they came to San Juan County. I met them through Nancy Lloyd's meditation group years and years ago, and then we had a Course in Miracles study group, and I have known them for a long time, have loved them ever since. Some years ago, they decided that they wanted to semi-retire and go to Belize, and they went to Belize and began working probably harder than they did here. So anyway, they are still very actively trying to help humanity with their message of love and peace and health. And so we are just proud as we could be to welcome Susan Barnes Smith.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Yeah, it was 92.
I knew it was long in there.
Yeah, it was, so it's been 30
I helped you.
years.
I helped you to move down here. Remember that old brown station
Oh,
wagon? Yeah,
long time. That was a whole nother lifetime.
it was.
And, yeah, semi-retirement. actually,
Wait, I'm going to mute everyone so we don't have background, okay? And then you'll need to re-up, so.
okay,
Okay, now you can.
there.
Okay.
Okay, so the thing is actually we came to Belize, or at least I came to Belize for one reason, and that's for freedom. And definitely I have found that down here because I'm free to do all kinds of things that I could never have done up there. And it's been really wonderful for the last almost 6 years now. Larry and I have had this farm. And so now we have 6 cows and I'm up every morning at 5 to milk. And I'm learning all kinds of new things like how to take the cream off the milk and how to make butter. And I'm hoping that I'll learn how to make yogurt and cheese and all of that kind of things. And yes, it's a whole new life, a different culture, different understanding, a different perception. And that's, so one of my patients came in and it was just such a simple but astounding thing that she said. Now you have to understand, she was a very devout Catholic and couldn't see anything outside of that. And she comes in and she says, everything I ever thought is a lie. And she's such an incredible person that she was able to make the shift and see that you can just see things from a different point of view. So I'm going to start off with a story. It's a story of the lie and the truth. Now, the lie was walking around one day and he happened to run into the truth, and she was dressed in this very gorgeous outfit. And they happened to be walking by a pond, and he said, "Oh, it's so warm today. Why don't we go and swim in the pond?" And Truth says, "Oh, sounds like such a lovely idea." So she disrobed and they jumped into the pond. And the lie jumped right back out, grabbed her beautiful clothes and put them on. And he went about the village and everyone believed because it was a beautiful lie. And here was the truth. And the truth had nothing. And she came out of the pond. But nobody would look at the naked truth because they would rather see a beautiful lie. And that's the way it really seems in so many things, at least from my perspective. So I'm going to have a disclaimer here to say that just because I've read it or I've seen it or I put it forth doesn't mean that it's necessarily true. It's more of ideas to think about and maybe to look at things in a different light. So I was reading the other day and it says, if you follow wise people, you weaken yourself. But if you follow yourself, you become a wise person. So today I'm going to ask you to consider how to perceive all that we know from one perspective to a different one. So let us search for the naked truth, and not by following someone else, but by seeing the issues from just another point of view. So I was going to start with, who are you? Where are you? Why are you here? And I'm looking on my computer and seeing these things, and I'm going, oh my goodness, I did this talk July of last year. And so I'm going, well, I don't want to repeat that. So I'm looking at all of this from a different angle. Who are you? Let's look at this differently. You think you're a human body. However, most of us, I believe, would realize that we're really spirit, a light body, okay? Which would be a new way to look at things for many other people. However, have you thought that maybe this is the matrix and really all we are is a 3D body, that this isn't real at all? This is only a virtual reality. Now, interestingly enough, they've actually proven this in quantum physics, that this is not really real. And if you read Course in Miracles, you will say there is the world, and then there is the real world. And so there are different ways to look at that. Now, from the Course, and you realize that the Course is very, very important to me, is that we learn that our true identity abides in God, and that we are forever an effect of God, and that we are spirit. And we know and we affirm that we are as God created us. How did he create us? God created us in love. And love is not physical. Actually, when you think about it, love is a vibration. And our hearts, which happen to be the most electrically active organ in our body, is our direct tie to God. So you need to listen to your heart. The thing is as people in a human body, we think that we're limited. We think, oh, well, I can't do this, or this is only people who can perform miracles. Yogi Bhajan says, you are very powerful, provided you know how powerful you are. And that's true, because the mind, which is not in here, the mind, which is part of our real spiritual body, not this 3D thing. This is where our power is. So it's very important that we watch the things we think, we watch the words we say. We are aware of the people that we associate with, because we need to be surrounding ourselves with positive, loving people, which is why, fellowship is so important. It is such an important aspect of my life, and hopefully of yours too. And because we are important, Buddha says, you yourself, as much as anybody in this entire universe, deserve your own love and your affection. Because remember, you cannot love others until you love yourself. So where are you? Where are you? Okay, the Earth goes around the sun. And did you realize that the sun also goes around the galaxy? And right now, we're going into a whole new energy shift, a whole different paradigm. And it's a shift upwards in vibration, which is why it is so important for us to keep our vibrations, our thoughts, at a high level. So we're having to adjust. Some people are feeling dizzy, some people are having headaches. Different people have different responses, but it's a different energy. And when people come into my clinic, they'll say, well, there must be something wrong with me because I'm feeling dizzy, and I say, no, the Earth is adjusting, and we will adjust to this higher vibration. The higher vibration is above. And as we all know, whatever is above, so are we below. So let's look at some other things like, okay, the center of a black hole. We have often thought that the black hole is something that sucks energy in. But what if it's just not sucking energy in, but rather collecting energy for an expansion? Because as we know, the universe is always expanding. And I had always thought, oh, the black holes sucking energy in. So when I saw this, I go, wow, what if it is just a collection of energy for an even greater expansion? Again, this material world is not what we think it is. And it is our perceptions that determines the outcomes. Knowing that we are the people that determine it, we realize that we have to have knowledge. And when you have knowledge, you have a time when you don't react, but rather you reason and say, okay, with this knowledge, what is going to be the highest good for all people? So knowledge is only a gateway. It's a gateway into true intelligence, into true wisdom. And so here are some things that I have found. Knowledge, intelligence. So now you are going to have to use your reasoning power and come up with whatever you feel is the right way to view it. Let's look at the very beginning of the Bible, because we have the Garden of Eden, paradise, and we have Adam. However, did you realize that in the Sumerian language, which is where almost all of the stories of the first five chapters in the Bible come from, that the name Adam means animal, and that paradise is really in Sumerian an enclosure for animals. Just a different way of looking at it. That the serpent, which is, as some of you know, the Kundalini energy that flows like this. You'll see it on the medical staff. It's, if you're studying the chakras or anything like that, you'll always see that kind of movement. And so supposedly the serpent, the knowledge, came to Eve, and she shared that with Adam. And in the Bible, supposedly they were chased out of the Garden of Eden, out of paradise, out of the enclosure for animals. What if they weren't chased, but what if they chose to leave? And they chose to leave for the same reason that I left. It's called for freedom, for individuality. So they went out, and now we'll talk about the God of the Bible, who is very vengeful, and you don't do what I say, I'm gonna get you. Is that really a loving and merciful God? So in the ancient stories that, now I forgot his name. Anyway, he translated a lot of the Sumerian stuff, and he was talking about that the people from the stars came, and the head of it was the Anu, A-N-U, and he had two sons, Enlil and Enki. Now, he gave the administration of the earth to Enlil. Well, it's really funny, but the word for administrator in Sumerian is Satan. And this is the one that is written about, or at least for me, in the Bible. And if any of you know the Greek story of Prometheus, he came down, and in Sumerian, his name was Enki. He came down and he had pity on the humans who had chosen to flee from Paraiso, paradise. And so he helped them to learn the sciences, to build a civilization. So these are just different ideas that you might want to think about, different ways of looking at the Bible. And Lyle, who is the Satan, and is actually the God that's written about in the Bible, or Enki, who was actually the serpent and gave the knowledge to Eve. So I'm going to skip 250,000 years and go up to 1760 to the Rothschilds. And the Rothschilds, of course, were the bankers in Switzerland. And the head one said, I don't care. I don't care who you say is running your country. As long as I can control the money, I control the world. And basically, since 1760, he's done that. For example, we as Americans feel that George Washington won the Revolutionary War. However, I have also read in some sources that Cromwell and Washington sat down at a table and agreed that the United States, the 13 colonies, could become a free country as long as England still controlled the money. Oh, except that the Rothschilds really were controlling the money in England too. And so that's how we won the Revolutionary War. And the Rothschilds, of course, have banked both sides. They backed the Bolsheviks. They backed the Tsar. They didn't really care who won. They just wanted the money. Different way to see things. Why are we having war? Because it makes everyone wealthy. Well, not take that back. It takes those who rule. And if you understand that in the US, the Federal Reserve is 51% owned by the Queen of England. Okay, so now we're going to go forward to some other little tidbits, because remember this, the title, Everything You Thought You Knew is a Lie. And we're going to go to the Titanic. Now, Morgan built two ships, the Olympia and the Titanic, and they were identical. And the captain of the Olympia, which went out first, was drunk and had damaged the engine room. And Morgan wanted the insurance company to pay. And they go, no, this was your fault. You had a drunk captain. So you're going to have to make your own payment. So what happened was 2 weeks before the Titanic was to sail, all of the workers were laid off. A new crew was brought in, and they switched everything because remember, they're identical. And so everything that was Olympia went on to what is now the Titanic, or was the Titanic, and everything that said Titanic went over to the Olympia. And so when the Titanic sailed, it was really the Olympia with a damaged engine room. And it was really interesting because that night before the Titanic was to sail, all of the important wealthy people became ill and took all of their stuff off the ship. The rest of the people were guided across the Atlantic to an iceberg that they knew. Oh, by the way, that same captain that was drunk on the Olympia was the one that was guiding the Titanic. Anyway, we all know what happened to the Titanic. Again, it's a different story than what most people have heard. Okay, so now we're going to get into some of the things of Western medicine versus Eastern medicine, which of course, since I do traditional Chinese medicine, I'm much more versed in that. And the thing about Western medicine that I found is that you have 13,000 different pathologies. And Eastern medicine, depending on which book you read, has 50 to 70. So for me, it's so much easier to look at Eastern medicine with its 50 to 70, and I can help people a lot more than having to learn 13,000. And then, of course, doing whatever the pharmacies say and give them pills, where with Eastern medicine says make food your medicine and medicine your food. So I have all the herbal remedies and I can sell them to people. And I don't have to rely on what I think, because if you do proper muscle checking, their body will tell you. Remember how intelligent the body is. The body is a self-healing unit. And the body has, every cell has its own intelligence. So if you know how to access that, you can find out what's going on. You don't need blood tests. You don't need MRIs. You don't need x-rays. You don't need CAT scans. The body will tell you exactly what's going on. They'll tell you if it's a physical problem or it's an emotional problem, which most people don't think about. In Western medicine, we look at it as a body, but in Eastern medicine, everything comes down to an emotion, and the emotions are where the heart becomes involved. So if we have pain, Western medicine will give you medication that will cover it up, but not necessarily cure it, because you have to take it the rest of your life. Or Eastern medicine, which is searching for the real cause. And if you have pain and if your body is not in functioning correctly, it's because you're not in line with your higher, true spiritual self, which is what we talked about earlier. And then the other thing is that Western medicine has, because of Louis Pasteur and Dr. Koch, come up with a germ theory. So here's some other things on Louis Pasteur. Number one, all of his scientific studies, they found out later, none of them were scientific. In fact, many of them were falsified. On Pasteur's deathbed, he said that his rival, who said it was not germ therapy, but rather that it was your immune system, your terrain, how you think, how you eat, that. He said, this guy was right. It's not, the vaccinations aren't good. The germ theory is nil and void. And now they're coming up with things, well, this is all part of epigenetics, which is formulated a lot by Bruce Lipton, Greg Brady. They all embrace the epigenetics. That it's what we eat, it's what we think, it's the actions we make. It's, are you out in the sun? And this is another thing. So many fundamentalists say, do you believe that the Son of God is our Savior? And I would always go, no. And then I realized SON and SUN. And the people who end up with cancer and heart problems and so many other things, diabetes, autoimmune, they don't have enough vitamin D, very, very low vitamin D. And so now when I can say to them, in all honesty, the Son, the SUN of God, is my Savior, because that is what is going to keep me healthy. So it's a whole different way of looking at it. Okay, so all of these things. So why are you here? So when you make a decision of purpose, then you make a decision about your future efforts, your what's going to happen in your life. Unless you change your mind, a negative thought will create a negative reaction. This goes back to what Yogi Bhajan was saying. You don't know how powerful you are. You are powerful. Now, the ego has a purpose too, just as much as the Holy Spirit does. And the ego's purpose is fear. And that's what we seem to be in right now, is in a state of fear. I have patients who come in and they tell me that they have this true belief. We believe in God. We're followers of this. Okay, that's good. And then they'll say, oh, but I worry about this and I worry about that. And I say, wait a minute. You just told me that you have a faith, but you're not trusting in it. You think that you have to take care of it. Now, I'm not saying that you're to do nothing, but part of it is trusting that the outcome will be for the highest good for all people concerned. And please note that I say the highest good for all people concerned. Okay, so the ego's purpose being fear. Because it's only when you are fearful that you're egotistic, because you think that you have to do it or that it's happening to you. So let's go back to the ego again, utilizing the power of the mind, which we said was very powerful, but to defeat the mind's real purpose. What is your function? The only function is the one that God gave you. And that is forgiveness. And forgiveness is your function as the light of the world. Your happiness and your function are one. What's your function? Forgiveness. You want to be happy? You have to forgive. Almost everyone who has cancer, there's a forgiveness issue somewhere. That's one of the things that they found. We came, all of us, each one of you came to be part of the salvation of the world. But it comes from your higher self. It comes from your heart, the part of you that is connected to the divine. Can you accept that? Can you accept God's plan for you, that you are the salvation of the world? God says you only get to heaven or whatever by holding the hand of a brother. So one of my purposes here, especially here in Belize, is I'm here only to be truly helpful, to help people see that they're beautiful, that they're wonderful, that they have a higher purpose, that they don't have to be suffering. So I'd like to ask each one of you, what have you done to be helpful today? Actually, each one of you have been helpful. You've actually sat here and listened to me. So I want to thank you for that. So the real purpose of this world is to use this world to correct your unbelief. Can you totally and truly believe in that higher power? So the whole purpose of the Course in Miracles is to teach us that the ego is unbelievable. Oh, the ego, that lie that was dressed so beautifully. And that it will forever be unbelievable. That we cannot do anything with ourselves alone. always with the hand of a brother. And by accepting the atonement for ourselves, we are deciding against the belief that we are alone. And we are dispelling the idea that we are separate, and we are affirming that we are the whole kingdom. As it says in the Bible, we don't have to search for the kingdom. We are the kingdom. This identification as beyond doubt as it is beyond belief. Your wholeness has no limits because your being is infinity. And so this is why you are here and who you really are. Namaste.
Thank you, Susan. We appreciate you. We love you. Glad that you were with us today. And your growth and your studies, your understanding, your awareness obviously continue to grow in magnitude. And I recognize that. And I just want to tell you, I think that that's wonderful because it's a great example for all of us to continue to grow, no matter whether you think you've arrived or not. It doesn't matter. Continue to grow. Don't you agree?
Oh,
Anyone want to say something and share something with Susan? Now's the time. Do you have another song ready to go?
I do, dear.
Okay. Well, since no one wants to comment, let's go ahead and play the music.
Okay, let me,
I didn't change anything on my end, so you should be ready to go.
yeah, just a moment. I've got to get it. Oh, it's the next one. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, my internet is. Here we go.
When I am down and oh, my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart watching me, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and see the one is me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to mountains that we sing. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger. Each restless heart, it's going perfectly. But when you come and I am filled with wonder, sometimes I feel I breathe eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me You raise me your shoulders, you raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Beautiful, beautiful, Susan. Thank you. Thank you so much.
There was no video with that one.
No,
No video?
no.
No.
video.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas, how come not?
No, the music was beautiful, but we had no video.
Uh, I don't know why not, because I did exactly the same thing. Oh, I'm so sorry. You would have loved it. They were beautiful, beautiful children.
That's okay. It was beautiful anyway. Sometimes our imaginations are, pretty good.
Well, and also they were in the middle of a forest and it was absolutely stunning.
Yeah, maybe it was an effect of not having the video, but the audio came through really well.
The audio did.
Oh,
The audio came through better on this one. Yes.
oh, crumb. Well, okay, this is one of those things that I'd like to work on.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. All
A
right.
learning
Thanks a lot.
experience.
Here we go. All right. So we thank Susan. We thank Steve. We thank every one of you for attending today. For our announcements, we are going to have a board meeting right after this. So we'll take a short break and come to it. However, I would like at this time for people, the first one I'd like to hear from is Jim Jones, who can tell us the state of COVID in San Juan County. I've heard some disturbing news here recently, but I don't know if it's true. It did not come from anyone who was actually, came to me third, fourth, fifth hand or something anyway. I would like for Jim to tell us what the real story is. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, it looks like our infection rates are up, just based on the new data that came in to the New Mexico Department of Health. And there's like 3 or 4 counties about a week ago when I last looked at their dashboard that were in the yellow zone, which means the infection rate was slowing down. And now there's only 2. So, and San Juan County looks like it's jumped up. The infection rate has gone up. So that's not good news. Anyway, that's what I have to report.
Well, that kind of confirms what I heard, Jim. I heard that actually the infection rate right now is higher than when we shut down last year. Or about the same, maybe. I don't know, but that's what I was told.
We're still in the red. We haven't
Still
gotten out of the
bad.
red. I was hoping we would drop down, but not according to the statistics compiled by the New Mexico Department of Health. So hate to be
Okay,
a bearer of bad news, but that's what I've seen. just checking the dashboard, I think it was yesterday. Latest data was October 4th. They do it in weekly increments, so
Well,
we'll be
that's not-
getting,
That's actually pretty recent in statistical things. It's a
yeah.
pretty current assessment.
Yeah, my biggest fear is that as we go into the fall and winter and we start doing more things indoors and in confined spaces, that's usually the start of flu season as well. And that's because it's communicable. And if we're in closer proximity to each other, then the infection rate goes up. So I'm hoping this doesn't turn into a surge, but it could.
So I'm taking from that your opinion and your vote would be to stay closed at this time?
That would be my inclination. You know, it all depends on people's vaccine status, or, you know, if they've already gotten COVID and recovered, like Jerry.
So would it be prudent to just maybe think about holding off for another month and then waiting to see what it's going to be like around the 1st of November? Because we really don't know, do we?
No, we don't. So yeah, that would be my inclination.
Okay, anybody would like to offer an opinion or information or anything at this time, just unmute and speak. Well, okay.
That was deafening silence.
Well, I think it was really loud silence, yes.
I told you that there would be some ideas that would be coming from a different point of view. They're ideas for you to think about. Not necessarily that any of them are true. They are ideas to think about.
There does seem to be an awful lot of churches out there that are meeting. I don't know what their infection rate is. I assume it's not very high or they would be closing, but all of the big churches have, and even some of the smaller ones have, are meeting and have lots of cars in their parking lots.
Well, some of the churches have made it almost a political or issue that we should meet regardless, you know, and they've been preaching, don't get vaccinated, don't take safety precautions. And it's kind of almost become ideological in a way. And that makes no sense to me. And I'm a proponent of germ theory. I'm sorry, Susan, but I got to differ with you on that one. So, and Louis Pasteur did develop the first vaccine against rabies, and it's very successful, and it's based on the germ theory.
You know, I've been looking at the news every day. They have the coronavirus cases, new cases, and those cases have been climbing lately. We've been getting more and more daily cases of coronavirus exposure. I mean, people getting more coronavirus. So it looks like it's going up, like Jim was saying, and not going down like we had hoped it would.
What we found for the new Delta variant, what I've just read recently, is it reproduces so quickly that compared to the wild type, which was the original variant, that it's more likely for even vaccinated people to have a breakthrough case. But that's simply because of the huge viral load that you would take in that would temporarily overwhelm your immune system. But, you know, being vaccinated is, you're still well protected against hospitalization and death. So it's worth getting vaccinated for. You know, why take the chance?
I
Okay,
agree with you, Jim, all the way. I think we should wait. And I think the vaccination is the only thing. I agree.
I got my booster and my flu shot on the same day, Friday.
Oh, you
Wow,
got the
I
booster?
got my booster.
So you
Got
got
my
the
booster, I
Pfizer?
got to get my flu.
Yeah, Pfizer.
Okay.
Mhm.
I have to wait. I had the Moderna, so
Ah.
it's best to get the booster that's compatible with your original immunization.
They won't give you a booster if you had only the one for your shot. Your
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Does someone want to offer a benediction prayer? I'm not going to wait long. Well, Father, Mother God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to come together and to share light and love, to hear a message and some information from someone who cares for us and our welfare. We ask that you would protect us and keep us safe in the coming times. We ask that you would watch over those of us who have weak immune systems and to help us to strengthen our beliefs and our strength, whatever that takes, and that you would empower us with your love by our ability to receive. We ask that you would guide us to make good decisions for the fellowship as a whole as we go forward. Enter into our consciousness of our group as we meet, and help us to make good decisions that would be the welfare for all concerned. Namaste. Okay. I'm going to stop recording.